for a woman in finance. Crypto, fight for amber eyes. I'm looking for a woman in finance. Crypto, fight for amber eyes. I'm looking for a woman in finance. Crypto, fight for amber eyes. I'm looking for a woman in finance. Crypto, fight for amber eyes. I'm looking for a woman in finance. Crypto, fight for amber eyes. I'm looking for a woman in finance. Crypto, fight for amber eyes. Uncharted. Let's go.
Welcome to Uncharted, episode 2, the podcast that rips a map right out of your hands and forces you to think differently about money, crypto, psychology, and success. I'm Lisa Ann Edwards, a crypto trader, investor, and entrepreneur with over 25 years in traditional markets, including crypto. With 5 multi-million-dollar businesses under my belt, I've navigated bull runs, crashes, scams, pumps, and dumps, and I'm here to give you the brutal truth about building wealth in a world that never stops changing. But that's not all. Before crypto, I lived in a world where money isn't real, Hollywood. Well, the Australian version. And as a former talent agent and now writer and film producer, I've seen firsthand how power, influence, and manipulation shape the way we think about success. The game is rigged, but only if you play it by their rules. So in this show, we go deep into the psychology of money, expose how the system really works, and give you the tools to build your own wealth. And because life isn't just about numbers, we'll take a few detours and into travel and luxury, love, hacking the system, and to live on your terms. So if you're ready to break free from the financial lies, trading myths, and mindset traps that keep you broke, you're in the right place. This is Uncharted. Let's get started. So today I want to ask you something that might shake you. Are you actually free? All right, let's get real. I'll ask it again. Are you actually free? Not just financially, not just mentally, in every way that matters. Or are you unknowingly trapped in a system that keeps you working, spending, and obeying without questioning all the rules? Most people don't ask more questions. They don't ask any questions. They just keep moving. They keep grinding. They keep following the script they were handed without ever stopping to think. Who wrote the script? And why the hell am I following it? So today, we're going to talk about the invisible prison most people are stuck in, the one controlling your money, your time, your choices, maybe even your whole damn life. This is water. But the real question is, can you see it? This is the prison of water that you can't see. So let me tell you a story. So there are 2 young fish and they're swimming along. And then an older fish passes them and says, "Morning, boys. How's the water?" The 2 younger fish keep swimming along. And eventually one turns to the other and he asks, "What the hell is water?" So the story comes from David Foster Wallace's famous speech. I love it. And this is water. And it's a perfect metaphor for life because the most dangerous things controlling you, they're not the most obvious. They're the things that are normal, so routine, so deeply programmed into you that you don't even notice them. So let me ask, when was the last time you questioned the system? Why do we wake up to an alarm that we don't want? Why do we work 40 hours a week for a wage that barely keeps up with inflation? Why do we go into debt for a degree that doesn't even guarantee success? Because we were taught that this is just the way things are. But is it? I didn't even finish high school. I dropped out in year 10, and yet I'm living a life I love. I've got a beautiful house, awesome job, travel whenever I want to. And when it comes to money, success, and freedom, most people are completely blind to the water they're swimming in. So you were taught what success looks like. You were taught how money works. You were taught to play the game by the rules, by the system that's designed to keep you working, not to make you free. And just like those fish, most people never stop to question it. So let me ask you again, is this just water you've been swimming in your entire life? Or are you the fish out of water trying to get ahead? So the most dangerous prison is the one you don't even realize you're in. So why do we accept the life we think we deserve? So here's the raw truth. So that's a really awesome line from The Perks of Being a Wallflower. We accept the love we think we deserve. But it's not just love. We accept the money we think we deserve. We accept the treatment we think we would deserve. We accept the life we think we deserve. How we feel about ourselves is what we think we deserve. And that's why I got my tattoo. You can't see it, it's under here. So to remind myself every single day, I will not accept less. Because the moment you raise your standards, your entire life changes. But here's the uncomfortable part. Most people don't believe they deserve more. They say they want more. They say they want wealth, but deep down they feel guilty about money. They say they want freedom, but the idea of not having a wage or a paycheck every 2 weeks terrifies them. They say they want a relationship where they're treated better, but they're afraid to be alone. So the truth? The life you have right now is the life you've tolerated. People don't get what they want. They get what they are, and they're willing to accept. So I want you to think about this. Really think about this. Most people will never be rich, have the love they want, or be free because deep down they don't actually believe they deserve it. People don't get what they want in life. They get what they are willing to accept. So there's another saying that I love too. I just love Tony Robbins' quotes. And he says, change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. So let's have a think about that and think about the lie of later and why it's killing your life. So now you have a choice. You can keep playing their game, working for money that loses value, paying taxes, fund corruption, and hoping for a retirement that may never come. So no one's guaranteed tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to retire. You might get hit by a bus. Do you know what your magic number is when that time is up? Are you going to live to 72, 102? Yet most people live like they will finally start enjoying life at 60 or 70 when they retire, when you're too exhausted from working to even enjoy it. So think about how insane that is. Spending your best years grinding away, hoping you'll have the energy to be healthy and finally live at an age when your body is breaking down. That's not a life. That's a slow motion death sentence. So people don't plan their lives, they plan their funerals, and they call it a retirement plan. So I've got another experiment that I really love. It's called the monkey experiment. The rules you follow. So let me tell you about a psychological experiment that proves how blindly we follow the system. So scientists put 5 monkeys in a cage and with a ladder and a bunch of bananas on the top, and every time a monkey climbed the ladder, they sprayed the monkey with freezing water. So eventually they stopped climbing. Then one by one, the scientists replaced those monkeys with new ones. And guess what? The new monkeys never even got sprayed because they refused to climb, because the group had already accepted the rule. Don't go for the bananas because you're going to get sprayed. But at the end, none of the monkeys in the cage had ever been sprayed. They'd all been replaced and none of them dared to climb the ladder. Why? Because the system had conditioned them. The scientists were spraying them, and they learned. It's a learned behavior. So that's exactly how most people live. Most of the rules you follow, they weren't created for your success. They were created to keep you in line. So think about that. Are you climbing the ladder, or have you been trained to stay at the bottom? Are you a worker? Are you like one of those little worker bees? I'm going to explore deconstructing identity in a world that demands conformity. So this is quite important when we're thinking about freedom. Personal freedom isn't just about financial independence or the ability to move where you want. It's about breaking free from the identity that you didn't even realize was programmed into you. So that means deconstructing who you think you are, not just in terms of beliefs, but in terms of how much your personality, your ambitions, and even your fears have been shaped by external forces like social media, public perception, cultural norms, the news. The news is a big one. So we live in a time where identity is currency. So your online presence, your brand, your opinions, they all become commodities. They shape how the world sees you, but here's the problem. If your identity is shaped by likes, retweets, algorithms, groupthink, are you actually free? Or are you just playing the scripted role in the digital system designed to keep you dependent on external validation? Oh, that person didn't like me. For a case study in identity destruction, I'm going to look at Kanye West. Yeah, I know, I can hear you all. Some say Kanye West is a genius. For me, Kanye West is also annoying as hell, but that is what he wants. He is polarizing. So one moment he's breaking the system, redefining music, fashion, independence. The next, he's parading his girlfriend around literally naked, pushing the line between artistic rebellion and flat out ridiculousness. So is it the Emperor's New Clothes all over again? The crowd watches, pretending there's some deep meaning until somebody finally says, usually a kid, she's not wearing anything. And then the media is in uproar. So is Kanye truly free, or is he just testing how far he can push before somebody calls his bullshit? So, because here's the fine line between revolution and performance art. And at this point, are we all just watching with our bucket of popcorn? And that's where the real conversation begins here. So because his story isn't about whether he's right or wrong, it's about what happens when someone refuses to conform. So Kanye demonstrates something uncomfortable. We don't want to see his girlfriend naked, or maybe you do, but the more you reject the identities and expectations placed upon you, the more society will drag you back into its framework. It begs the question, are we really free if the price of breaking free is exile? So the risk of losing yourself in a world that's obsessed with identity is huge. So the reality is most people are terrified of stepping outside the identity they've built. You know, mum and dad, 3 kids, family, home, everything like that. Because what happens when you stop caring what other people think? You stop playing by the social rules of industry. You stop chasing an algorithm, the trends, the constant approval, all the likes. For most, that would mean irrelevance, especially, your Instagram models. So that's why most people stay inside a version of themselves, their little box, because it's marketable and it's safe. They play the part of the perfect professional because that's what LinkedIn demands. They post filtered versions of their life because that's what Instagram rewards. Yep, we're all guilty. As a woman, you don't want to put makeup all the time, so you put a filter on. They repeat safe opinions because that's what avoid backlash. But if your entire identity is built for public approval, and you're really living as yourself? Or are you just playing a role in someone else's system? I always like to think of this as an avatar in a Sims game. Have you ever played that? Think about it. Let's jump into freedom versus exile. You pay the price. So the harsh truth, freedom comes with a cost. If you deconstruct your identity, you lose people, opportunities, status. The more you step outside the lines, the more society will try and erase you. Most people aren't free, they're just well trained. And that's why people like Kanye, Elon Musk, or even Dave Chappelle, people who have publicly deconstructed their identities, become either visionaries or villains, depending on who you ask. True independence, true sovereignty means giving up the comfort of belonging. So ask yourself, how much of your identity was chosen and how much of it was shaped by social pressure? If you stripped away validation, the approval, the expectations, who would you actually be? Most people aren't living as themselves. They're just playing a role society gave them. The question is, are you ready to step outside of that script? After all, you're the one writing it. So let's look at the escape plan. Step 1, unlearn the default script. Rewrite it. You're in control. Question everything you've been taught about money, success, stability. Stop saying, can I afford this? And start asking, how can I create this? How can I make the money? Understand that no one is coming to save you. This is not a Disney movie. Life is not a fairy tale. Wait, I am about to go out and go on a tangent here because I love them. Sure, you might get lucky. You may stumble onto the right opportunity, the perfect partner, or win lotto. But for most people, that's not reality. Because in the real world, there's no Prince Charming running around trying to match you with a glass slipper. And here's why the glass slipper is the perfect metaphor for what we've all been told about success. So as an entrepreneur, you make your own path. And here is why waiting for the glass slipper is a trap. Why people wait to find their perfect partner. Cinderella's entire story is passive. She's stuck in a bad situation, but she doesn't fight to change it. She accepts she has to clean for the ugly stepsisters and horrible stepmom. She doesn't run away. She doesn't build her own path. She waits. She waits for a fairy godmother to give her a dress. She waits for a prince to notice her. She waits for the shoe to magically fit, proving she's worthy. And a lot of people live their entire lives like this, waiting for the perfect job instead of creating opportunities, waiting for the right relationship instead of working on themselves. Do some therapy, people. The right person is right there and you were just not in the right headspace. So do some therapy, find you. Waiting to be discovered. Don't get me started on this about actors needing headshots, websites, marketing, do courses. Be seen, build your own success. No one's going to discover you sitting in your bedroom. It's like, be proactive. Waiting for money to come instead of learning how to grow and control it. Learn to trade. I keep telling people it's such a valuable skill because deep down, people don't believe that success is something that happens to them. But here's the hard truth. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your mum, not your dad, not the government. The world doesn't care if you're stuck in a bad situation. If you don't change your own life, no one else will. It's your life, yours. If you don't take control of your money, the system will take control of it for you. So, and if you keep waiting for someone to rescue you, whether that's a job, a person, or some financial miracle opportunity that you'll be waiting forever, are you even entering lotto to even say that you can possibly win it? So the ugly truth, The world rewards people who take action. So, out on my tangent still here, in Cinderella's world, being good, kind, and patient was enough. In the real world, success, well, it doesn't come through being deserving. It comes from taking action. And this is why so many people get stuck. They believe their worth will eventually be recognized. They expect that their system will reward them for working hard. They wait for permission to take the life they want, the dream holiday. But that's not how life works. The world doesn't give you what you deserve. It gives you what you demand. So you don't wait for the glass slipper. You don't wait for permission. You take control and you build the skills to create your wealth. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to start moving. You own your financial decisions instead of letting the system own you. Because the real power move isn't hoping the shoe fits. It's deciding you don't need the goddamn shoe in the first place. So the glass slipper is a trap. It keeps you waiting instead of taking action. Success isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create. So how are you going to get there? How are you going to master the wealth mindset? Wealthy people don't think about salary. They think about assets. If you don't control your time, you don't control your life. So if you are working 9 to 5, you don't control your life. Your boss is. The key to financial freedom isn't just about making more money. It's about owning your time. Most people think wealth is measured in dollars, but real wealth is controlled by how you spend your days. If you're constantly trading hours for a wage, even if you're earning a high salary, you're still trapped in a system where your time belongs to someone else. So true freedom comes when you own your time, when your money works for you instead of you working for the money. And that's why the wealthy focus on building assets, creating passive income, and designing a life without the 9 to 5 schedule. Because at the end of the day, real currency isn't the money, it's time. And if you don't control your time, you don't control your life. And at the end of your working life, when you get to your 60s and your 70s, you can't get all that time back when you were young enough to travel, when you were young enough to bungee jump. Financial and mental sovereignty starts with a mindset shift, one that most people will never make. Too many people focus on looking rich instead of being rich, wasting money on cars. Yeah, I'm looking at you, crypto bros. I'm looking at you in your Lambos, your clothes as status symbols, Louis Vuitton, that depreciate in value the second you buy them. Real wealth isn't about what you own, it's about what owns you. If your wage disappears tomorrow and your lifestyle collapses, you were never rich. You were just temporarily funded. The real path to financial freedom is investing in assets that grow, in skills that create opportunity, in a life you don't need to escape from. Because if you wouldn't be happy doing what you're doing now in 5 years, why are you doing it today? Most people stay stuck because they're afraid to change. And the truth is, if you don't take control, someone else will. Sovereignty means owning your time, choices, and financial future instead of renting them from a system that's designed to keep you independent. Okay, because I like to talk crypto, let's talk Bitcoin and how the system keeps you broke. So let's talk about fiat money, because if you don't control your money, you don't control your life. We've just looked at time and how the system keeps you trapped. So you're taught to work for money, but the rich make money work for them. That's why the system loves employees and fears entrepreneurs. So governments print money and tell you inflation is normal. Banks hold your money and tell you that saving is the way to wealth, 2-3% a year. Corporations pay you just enough to keep you dependent. And the moment you start questioning it, you become a threat. And that's why Bitcoin scares them. No government can print more Bitcoin. There's only 21 million. No bank can freeze your Bitcoin. They can try, and they're trying to own it. No corporation can control it, although they're buying up lots of it. It's financial freedom money. And that's why they try and convince you it's dangerous. So mainstream media are brainwashing you to believe the lies, because the moment you don't realize you don't have to play their game, you become unstoppable. Bitcoin isn't just an investment, it's an escape hatch from the system designed to control you. So now to the debt trap. So this is like really fascinating. So how you were lured into financial slavery before you even knew it. So let's talk about something nobody wants you to think about. Debt. So you probably grew up believing debt was just a normal part of life. You need to go to college or university, depending on where you live in the world, take out loans. Want a car? Finance it. Dreaming of a house? Get a mortgage. Need something right now, but don't have the cash? Just swipe your credit card. Sounds so simple, so reasonable. Like, this is just the way life works. We all know it, but what if I told you this isn't what it was always the case? This wasn't the case. So debt was something that was pushed onto people, not because it made their lives better, because it made the banks and the systems richer. And the craziest part, the first mass adoption of consumer debt was basically airdropped onto people, just like how airdrops work in crypto today. So mainstream media wanted you to believe that crypto is the scam. The credit card and is the scam that works like this. This is how Bank of America tricked people into debt. So to fully understand how we got here, we have to jump in our time machine and go back to 1958. Back then, most people paid for things in cash. If you didn't have the money for something, you saved up. Simple. See, little piggy bank. Haven't got one, but yeah, little piggy bank here. This is how kids were taught to save. They were taught in the school banking system, and most kids would bring in some money, say $1 or $2, and deposit into their bank each week and maybe fortnightly, watch it grow. I was always this little, well, a lot jealous, and as we were never rich enough to do this. So we were not rich enough. My mum was a single mum. She ate most meals from our scraps. Anyway, back to the credit cards. Back then, most people paid for things in cash. People weren't drowning in debt like they are today, and that was a problem for the banks. Wait for it, because without debt, they couldn't collect interest, and they couldn't trap people into lifelong payment cycles. They couldn't make money from people just trying to live their lives. So what Bank of America did, they sold the American dream. But here's how things about dreams work. You're asleep. So Bank of America came up with this brilliant, completely predatory plan. Instead of waiting for people to ask for credit, they sent it to them, unsolicited. Yes, that's right. In 1958, Bank of America printed 60,000 credit cards and mailed it to random people in Fresno, California. People woke up, opened their mail, and boom, they had access to money like never before. At first, it felt like free money. People started spending on things they wouldn't usually buy. Business started making more money because customers could buy now and worry about paying later. The market went into a bull cycle. Yes, that's how the markets work. And the bank, they were sitting back. They were watching people walk straight into their trap, because here's the thing. It's free money, but it's not actually free. A few months in, people couldn't pay off their balances. Interest started stacking up, fees kicked in, and suddenly people owed more than they borrowed. Sound familiar? Borrow $1,000, 10% interest, you now owe $1,100. So because of that, the birth of modern credit card industry was born. So how debt became a lifelong chain around your neck. So the Fresno experiment was such a massive success for banks and not for the people. The other banks copied it. And in the 1970s, credit cards were everywhere. And by the 1980s, people even stopped questioning it. It became normal. Think of my earlier monkeys. You've got the credit card. I've got a credit card. Everyone's got a credit card today. We don't question that. There are over 1.2 billion credit cards in circulation. So the average American household has $7,951 in credit card debt. And banks make over 120 billion, yes, billion, a year in interest and fees. And just like that, debt became normal. Not because it actually helped people, but because it helped the system. Now think about how deep that runs. Debt doesn't stop with credit cards. They made sure it touched every part of life. You're in debt before you even get your first real job. They convinced you that a college degree is the only way to succeed. So you take out student loans before you even understand what debt is. And you have to pay this back when you get your first job. So education, you're paying for it. It's not free. You go to the job you hate to pay it back. Your house, you don't own it. The bank does. You tell people, this is my house. But how much of that house do you own? The bank owns it. Normally 70, 80%. You spend 30 plus years paying for it. And by the time it's paid off, you've given 2 to 3 times what it's worth back to the bank. And if you can't make the payments, they take it from you. They don't care how much money you've paid. Your wage is already spent before it hits your account. Between debt, taxes, and rising living costs, how much of your wage is yours? Your money is never really yours. If you keep it in the bank and they lend it out and charge you fees to access your own money, it's not yours. You can't walk into the bank and just get $5,000 without them questioning what it's for. And here's the most brutal truth of all. Even if you pay off all your debt and you're still being drained, inflation makes sure money loses value every year. Taxes take a huge chunk before you even see it. Hidden fees ensure banks keep making money off every transaction you make. It's a rigged game. And the worst part, most people never question it. They just keep swiping. They keep paying, keep living paycheck to paycheck or wage to wage, trapped in a system that they never agreed to. So let's explore this a bit deeper. What is the real cost of debt, inflation, home ownership? What is the lie of security? So let's talk about the biggest financial scam of all time. And it's not crypto. That's what the banks and mainstream media want to tell you. And they're selling you that idea. The debt cycle, they start you building with your dream, their dreams that they have subconsciously hardwired into your brain. Go to school, get a job, pay off your university or college debt, buy a car with money you don't have, buy a house with a mortgage, maybe get married and you need to have the big day because, hey, you're never getting divorced, right? It's all about that one day. But think of the holidays you could take with that money. Maybe elope and go on an extended adventure and see if you actually like the person you're marrying. Do I sound jaded? Anyway, I'm sure it works for some. So have some kids. In my case, I had 5. Get a credit card and keep drowning in debt because the system was designed to make sure you never truly get ahead. And the moment you start using credit, you spend money you don't have on things you don't need, probably to impress people you don't like, right? We've all been there. Keeping up with the Joneses, it's a thing, it's real. So if you never upskill, you fall into the minimum payment traps that keep you paying forever. You get hit with high interest rates, making sure you owe more money than you borrowed. Sure, there are interest-free cards, but most don't make you cut up the old cards, so now you have two cards. You become debt dependent because now you're paying off the old purchases with future income and the debt cycle continues. And banks, well, they're profiting every time you swipe on both cards. They profit when you carry a balance, they profit when you miss a payment, and they even profit when you pay on time through fees, transaction charges, and the psychological cycle of keeping you spending. Because you need that stuff. You need the random stuff on Temu. I know I need their shoes, but a credit card isn't designed to help you. It's designed to trap you. So the longer you stay in debt, the richer the banks get, the institutions get, the poorer you stay. And the cycle repeats. So let me ask you, who really owns your life? You or the bank? Maybe you're not a wage slave, but the slave masters are still higher up the ladder. You might think you're in control because you have a job, a wage, and a little bit of freedom, maybe 4 weeks a year. But the truth is, the system still owns you. The bank owns your house until you've paid them back 2-3 times of their value. The credit card debt keeps you trapped in an endless cycle of making payments, of making sure you're always working for the next bill. And the government takes it cut before you even see your wage. And inflation, it silently steals whatever is left. So when you go to the supermarket and it's not double the price it was 3 months ago, it's crazy how much it's gone up. So meanwhile, the real masters of the system, the banks, the corporations, the governments, the policymakers, they just sit back, collect the wealth you generate. They don't trade their time for money like you do. They trade their time for their money. The higher up you go, the fewer people are actually working for money because they've built a system where everyone below them does the work while they collect the profits. So the question isn't whether you're a wage slave, it's whether you're still playing the game designed to keep you losing. It's the idea that you're supposed to spend your life working for things you never actually earn. You were taught that if you work hard, save money, buy a house, you'll be financially secure. But let's break that illusion. I'm smashing the glass slipper because here's the brutal truth. Most people will never own their house. Never. The bank does. You're just renting it from them for 30 plus years. And maybe if you're lucky, pass it down to your kids. If there's any more left after paying the retirement village that you need to move into because you're too sick to do anything. So how much of your house do you really own? So think about this. Take out a mortgage to buy a house and the bank gives you money up front, but you owe them plus interest. You spend the next 30 plus years paying it off, and by the time it's finally yours, you've paid the bank 2 to 3 times, sometimes more, and a lot of the time more than what the house was originally worth, even with inflation. So if you miss too many payments, they take it from you. So let me say that again. If you've spent 15 to 20 years paying off your mortgage, if you hit hard times and you miss a few payments, the bank repossesses your house. That means you could spend decades paying for something and still lose it in the end. And that's not even the worst part. So we have inflation. It ensures you never own anything. So even if you pay off your mortgage, you're never truly done paying it because now inflation and the rising cost of living, making sure your money is worth less every year. Maybe you refinance it because you've got a huge credit card debt. So let's break this down. Inflation means your money buys less over time. So $1,000 in 2000 had the buying power of nearly $2,000 today. So if your parents bought a house for $100K in the 80s and the same house is now $700K, not because it's more valuable, but because money is worth less. Property taxes ensure you never own your home. So even if you pay off your mortgage, you're still forced to pay property taxes forever. So if you stop paying property taxes, the government takes your house. So your wages don't keep up with inflation. Everything gets more expensive except your wage. So the cost of food, rent, healthcare, education, bills rises faster than wages, keeping you in survival mode. And the worst part, the government and central banks cause inflation on purpose by printing money. Some of you listening may have heard me talking about quantitative easing and tightening on X and on YouTube. So they print trillions of dollars out of thin air, and it used to be backed by gold and other stuff, making every dollar in your pocket worth less and spent then less over time. So even if you're saving money, you're still losing money because money isn't a store of value anymore. Bitcoin is. I'm going to bring it back to crypto. So it's a game of who can get rid of their cash the fastest because it loses even more value. So the system wants you to keep chasing. So you never question it. The whole system is designed to keep you chasing the illusion of ownership. You're told home ownership is security, but the bank owns it until you pay them 3-4 times over. So you're told saving money is smart. Inflation makes sure it loses value. So fiat money isn't actually worth the money it's like printed on. So you're told to work harder for more income, but taxes and rising costs ensure you never actually get ahead. And let's be real. When was the last time your government or your bank told you the truth about this? They don't. Because the moment you see through this illusion, you become the problem. A problem for banks because you're now not taking their debt. A problem for corporations because now you're not wasting money on liabilities. And a problem for governments because now you understand that their game is rigged. So let's talk about how to escape this trap and actually gain control over your life so you're not in prison. So the truth is you're never really going to be free while you're playing by their rules. But here's how you get to opt out. So 1, stop playing by their rules. Stop taking on debt for things that don't build wealth. Stop thinking of your house as an investment when it's actually a 30-year liability. 2, put your money in assets, not cash. If you're holding money in a savings account, it's losing value every year. So wealthy people own assets that increase in value, like real estate, businesses, stocks, and Bitcoin and crypto. So, but you need to know the right ones to invest in. Understand why Bitcoin is a threat to the system. Learn about Bitcoin, banks, and governments, and understand that they can't print more of it. There's 21 million. That's it. They can't freeze, seize, manipulate. It's like traditional money. It's not the same. It's money that holds value, unlike the cash in your wallet. Hell yeah, crypto's volatile, but it's outpaced inflation every single year that it's been around. So are you a slave? The system was designed to keep you running in circles, chasing ownership, security, financial stability, while making sure you never actually get it. Because if you did, they wouldn't be able to control you anymore. So ask yourself, are you working for real ownership or are you just renting your life from the system? Are you holding money that gains value or are you just watching your savings lose purchasing power? Or are you playing their rules or learning how to opt out? That's why you're here. Because the people who understand this game are already leaving the system behind. And the people who don't, they'll spend their whole lives paying for things they never actually own. So you've got this far. How do you escape the debt system and regain control? So the truth is, you'll never be free if you're playing their game. This system is designed for you to fail. But the good news, you can opt out. And here's how. Stop financing things that make you poor. Say that again. Stop financing things that make you poor. If you're financing a lifestyle you can't afford, you're not rich. You're just good at looking rich. If you can't buy it twice in cash, you probably can't afford it. Brand new car, it drops in value the second you drive it off the lot. So designer clothes, you're paying for a label, a brand, not the quality. The rich use debt to build wealth. Most people use it to buy things they don't need. So invest in assets, not in liabilities. Every dollar you put into an appreciating asset, Bitcoin, real estate, businesses, is a dollar that works for you. So every dollar you put into a car, a new phone, overpriced clothes, is a dollar you'll never see again. Assets put money into your pocket, liabilities take them out. So which one are you prioritizing? So own your money, don't let the banks control it. What do I mean like this? So I'm telling you to pull it out of the bank and to not stick it under your pillow. No, don't do that. That's a recipe for disaster. Banks and governments control the money supply and they'll do whatever it takes to keep you dependent. So that's why Bitcoin is a threat, because it's money they can't print, freeze, or manipulate. The system was never meant to make you rich. If you're waiting for the system to reward you for playing the rules, you'll be waiting forever, because the rules were never made for your success. They were made to keep you just comfortable enough that you don't fight back. So there's no growth in a comfort zone. And now that you see it for what it is, you have a choice. You can keep playing their game or you can opt out. Debt is the modern version of slavery. The chains are invisible, the control is real, and the only way to opt out is to stop playing the game they've designed to keep you trapped. So most people don't need more money. They need to stop acting like a slave. So if you're waiting for permission to build your life, the life that you want, you'll be waiting forever. So most people will die having lived completely average because, well, not because they weren't capable of more, but because they never questioned the water they were swimming in. So we go right back to David Foster Wallace's fish, like my little fish here, asking what is water? But you're here and now you see it. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. This is water. But now you've got the chance to swim.